Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this, my second channel, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with all the Flat Earth Debate pre-show and after-show goodness. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal and crypto link in the info box below the video. Now, we're currently joined by a whole bunch of people as we are in the interim stages between the two debates, so I'll raise the mic on the Hangout and you can enjoy the dulcet tones of whoever is in there while I set up for the second show.
Still claim, boats are going over the horizon line.
Right, Nathan, I found the clip, Nathan, that I wouldn't mind you playing a small snippet of. It's only about 10 seconds. I'll send you the link in Skype. Would you mind playing it?
Sure. In Master B? Oh, you haven't sent it me.
I've sent it to you now on Skype.
Oh, yeah.
Basically play it from 10 seconds.
From 10 seconds.
So I do like your guys' show. I think it's great. I think having a platform to even discuss.
So, Oscar, you asked the question, what are some of the easiest ways that you can prove that the Earth is round? Because apparently this is something that we're debating. I have no idea why. That's a hard thing for me to even start talking about.
Sorry, what bit did you want exactly, Anthony? Because I'm just going to end up getting a copyright strike.
The bit after, it goes from 22 to 32. It's 10 seconds from 22 to 32.
So not from 10 seconds.
No, it's a paragraph she starts on at 10 seconds, but it's the end of it.
So 22 seconds.
Yeah.
Till what?
32.
Yeah, that's enough for me to not get a copyright strike. Fine.
It's difficult to know where to start. And it's not okay to think that the Earth is flat. This is not a viable argument. I have friends who have been on the International Space Station. They have.
Is that it? Is that what you wanted?
Yeah. So she says it's not okay to think that the Earth's not flat. To think that the Earth's
Who the
flat.
fuck is she?
Yeah.
It's not okay.
What an outrage.
Yeah.
It's not okay.
Oh my God.
It's not okay, dumb bitch, to assume the Earth is a sphere.
Disgusting creature.
Yeah,
It's not
dispute
okay.
the facts and dispute the evidence. That's what I'm always looking for. What instead of these emotional responses that they have, I'm looking for the evidence. Then prove it, please.
Listening to
the
people
authority.
like that, I don't know how people can listen to that and not think something's up. It's not okay to think that.
She works for the
thought
space
police.
agency. But you know what? But you know what? This is what they tell us when they come in here. They tell us it's not okay for us to think what we're thinking, that we're lying when we tell them that we don't agree, that we don't live in a fucking ball. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, so that's okay.
Not
I'm going to
okay.
go back to the globe so that I can live in a reality where I have thought police. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Well, when I take this information that I have to people that are new to this, and I show them this, their first response is, well, so it's bigger than they said. And obviously, we know now that the implications of that are far more serious than just it's bigger than that. And if they, just ask yourself that question right there, how is it possible in this time and day that they could be wrong about what the size of our world is? Yeah, and when you start going down that road, you start realizing there is no way that should happen unless they don't know or they're trying to hide something.
They can't do that. So I have this argument with Anthony all the time when he's like, oh, well, it could be a bigger ball. It's like, no, it can't be a bigger ball. They've derived the circumference from the journey the sun takes. You can't just suddenly arbitrarily increase the size of the ball in the heliocentric model.
But once again,
damned if they don't. Either way, you would have to change the model.
Right. And that's that's asking people who aren't into this or just see this information for the first time. That's their first natural reaction. That's going to be their hand wave dismissal type of response is going to be, oh, it's just bigger, not a big deal. But they're not looking into it, right? They're not understanding the implications of that, and that the entire solar system, right? Everything that we believe the universe is built based on the foundation of the size of our world first.
Right.
Yeah. So that's a slippery slope.
Just to back up what you're saying, Fish, I was when I first started talking to my mom about this, and I said, "Look at this X, Y, and Z." She's like, "Well, then it's bigger than we thought."
Right.
That was her knee jerk. She's not a scientist. She's not, she's just a regular person. But her knee jerk reaction was
just a bigger one. Has to be a ball. Because you've been programmed to believe it's a ball, and when something doesn't conform, it doesn't mean you don't think it's a ball anymore. You just think, oh, well, it's got to be a bigger ball. No, it has to be a specific size. It's fixed. Their radius in their model has to conform to the R value. You can't just increase it.
Yeah, yeah, and that's obviously until you start looking into it and you understand why that's not possible. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live. There's also a PayPal and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly though, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching. Then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on social media. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by The Plain Truth, Sleeping Warrior, Jose, Fish Matrix, Eric, Daniel, Chocolate Zayn, Arwin, and Apollo. Good to have you all.
Yo, yo.
Hello.
Hey.
We didn't necessarily make it through the housekeeping last time, and I don't think we've had Polo for the housekeeping in the past, so it'd be interesting to see how he reacts to some of these questions as we run through.
Yeah, I was on before with some housekeepings.
You have?
Yes.
Oh, well, let's see how you get on. Any signs of curvature?
What about... Well, I haven't really... Well, never mind. Go on.
I know.
Said a no.
Well, I did see curvature in the new photos from the latest spaceship 2 launch, I think it's called, but I haven't really looked into it, so not going to talk about it.
Cool. I saw Godzilla on TV. I haven't really looked into it yet, but I'm pretty sure Godzilla's real.
That's nice of you, Nathan.
Yeah, just as nice as your curve on TV.
Any evidence of curvature, Apollo?
Nope.
Oh, good.
Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
No idea.
So that'd be a no as well, then,
So
right?
that's basically just the spin of the Earth you are talking about.
Yeah. Any evidence that we do actually spin as opposed to don't move a smegging inch?
I don't know.
Anybody at all? Anybody?
I think that'll go down as a no, Nathan.
No.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Nope. Well, no.
Good lad.
No.
This is the one I'm most interested to hear Apollo's answer. Any evidence that you can have a gas pressure without a container?
Nope. Well,
Oh, right, just a flat out no. Very wise.
All right.
Very sensible. Anybody else?
Nope.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
what about the magnetic fields?
Is that an evidence of a presupposed spherical Earth with a molten iron core at the centre of it?
Not necessarily, but it's an hypothesis. How do you call it? Hypothesis.
No.
So how do you have these magnetic fields?
Can I stop right there? Not a hypothesis. A hypothesis is a scientific prediction that predicts how your independent variable causes the effect of the dependent variable, your observed phenomena in the natural world. That would be a hypothesis. It's called a scientific prediction. Beyond that, you have Mystic Meg predictions, which don't mean anything.
Sure, Nathan.
Yeah.
So how do you have these magnetic fields? Tell me about these.
I don't know. This is my how do you call it? My expertise isn't magnetic fields and how they are generated. So of course you can generate a magnetic field with a coil, but I don't know much beyond that. And how you can convert magnetic fields to energy, but that's something else.
So the magnetic field on your model comes from the core of the Earth, right? Solid core of the Earth. Molten iron, solid, liquid, hot, nickel and iron core, right?
Yeah,
temperature.
I think that's how it works.
Temperature is about 4,000 degrees Celsius, I believe, off the top of my head. But whatever it is, it's pretty hot. There's something called the Curie temperature. Do you know what the Curie temperature is?
I do not.
The Curie temperature is the point where a magnetic metal will lose its magnetic properties to do with temperature. And once you go beyond that Curie point, it loses the magnetism until it comes back down again, and then it regains its magnetism all by magic. But once you go above that temperature, it's not magnetic anymore. So if there is a core down there, and it is above the temperature that the Curie temperature of iron and nickel, it means that it can't have a magnetic charge unless it's being inducted. Now on your model, there's no inducted charge. So there has to be some kind of self-perpetuation. So then the question is, well, what's perpetuating it? Any ideas?
I don't know. It isn't my expertise. So I don't think I can...
Let's ask the question again. Is there any evidence of a molten iron? What is it, Nathan? A self-perpetuating molten iron core?
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating, as you've asked that specific detail, a self-perpetuating molten iron core?
Spherical Earth.
Exactly.
I would say no.
Fair enough. Well, I'm sure you've got something for the next one, Apollo. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
I've read some things about radar, but I haven't done it myself, so I don't know.
If you read some more things about radar, you'll find out that none of the scientists actually agreed that they were looking at a ping. Some of them said they did, some of them said they didn't. There wasn't a scientific consensus. You'll find that the information or the data was sent over to JPL, Jet Propulsion's laboratories.
Bob!
And then, once Bob had a look at it, it all became apparent then that it was definitely the ping of Venus.
Any idea how big of a radio telescope they used?
Yeah, Jodrell Bank they used.
How many? Do you know how many meters in diameter?
No, I could look it up, but it's owned by the University of Manchester.
Massive.
And when I tried to get the ping data, the actual evidence, I got a brick wall. I tried to get the dean of my university to contact the dean of Manchester. I still couldn't get it. So even if there was ping data, they're not letting me have it.
Well, with today's digital equipment, you would need a very tiny signal to noise ratio to make out a difference, you know, compared to 50 years ago with comparatively crude analog equipment. So today you would need much. I think you could do it with a relatively small radio telescope.
Sorry, I'm
today
sorry.
that it's more sensitive than it used to be. Like back in the day, they were pretty good at doing this sort of stuff.
10 o'clock, and then I got to Linthicum at 10:20, and then I was done there at 11.
Okay, Travis, thank you.
Can I just give Travis an answer?
Trav, you got
not Travis. Apollo. So it's 76 meters the diameter of the bowl. So I guess 20 meters across, which was a bit off. But yeah, the diameter is 76.2 meters. It's massive. Collecting area of 4,560 meters squared.
So that's a pretty big radio telescope.
Yeah, it's huge.
When
it was built in the late 50s, early 60s, it was the world's leading biggest telescope. It's not anymore. There's a couple of ones bigger than it, but The point is that even with the like that leading cutting edge technology, right, this so-called ping data, when they got back the results, the interpretations that were applied to it were so like ambiguous that they didn't actually agree on it. Some of them said, yeah, it was. Some of them said, no, it wasn't. It took a bloke called Bob from JPL to run it by and then say, yeah, that was what it was. And then all of a sudden, everybody then jumped on board and said, yeah, it's true because Bob said so.
So in a nutshell, Apollo say, yeah, but we can. I think we can do this now with the technology now, but it's not about what we can do; it's about what has been done already.
Well, it would be the experiment would need to be repeatable by how do you say it, smaller radio telescopes, so we can try it ourselves. Get our hands on a 25-meter telescope, for example, which are available in the Netherlands. There is a 25-meter radio telescope available. I would be curious if they could. I mean, they can bounce a signal of the moon, but I would be interested if they can do the same with the sun. I would be interested in.
Not an experiment. They only have. This is astrophysics. This is step one only of the scientific method. Step one, observe a phenomena. That's what they do. They observe phenomena.
Yes.
Well, that's it. Are they independently varying their cause of the phenomena? Can they independently vary the cause of the sun that they are observing? Of course not. This is not science. This is pseudoscience. Pretender clowns who look at things and then declare science says something. It doesn't. This is not science.
Well, couldn't you determine that... I mean, let's say you want to determine if the sun is actually returning the send signal or not. Couldn't you just move the telescope around? Let's say you move it in all its directional freedom, if we have a movable telescope. And so you send signals that with the telescope aimed away from the sun, and you send signals with the telescope aimed at the sun, and you don't receive signals when the telescope is moved away from the sun, but you only receive signals with the telescope aimed at the sun. Wouldn't that logically conclude that the signals are coming back from the sun because they only come back if you aim the telescope at the sun?
Yeah,
Right,
but the
you're
problem
talking
is
about
determining the
future
signal from
tense.
everything else in the background.
Right, future tense. Have you done this?
No, I have not.
Has anybody done this?
Well, those people we were talking about.
Yeah, we just told you. They looked at the signal and said, we can't identify a return signal. A guy from JPL called Bob comes along and says, that's the return signal right there in that mess of noise. So a guy came along where other quote-unquote scientists, actually pseudoscientists looking at phenomena only, not doing any experimentation, not led by hypothesis. Yeah, those guys couldn't determine what it was. Guy from JPL says it is this. And then it was. That's what we actually have, as opposed to future tense, what we could do, like you're describing, Apollo. So the actual rhetoric is what we're describing. Future tense possibly could be done, hasn't been done, I haven't done it, is what you're giving us.
I guess they should do the thing I
say it again, I couldn't give a crap what they could do. Yeah, they have sent a signal, couldn't interpret the data, and then a guy from JPL came along and said he could. That's what's actually happened, Apollo. So I don't care what we could do. Who cares?
Yeah, they teach this to kids in school. They teach this to everybody. Everybody believes this story, so it has to be some information somewhere. It's not that we can do something because we might be able to do it, but what has been done that is being taught in school as a real thing.
Exactly. Where do we get the narrative from? Not where could we get it from to verify it. We've got one. We've looked. We know what it is already.
Okay.
Okay, so the problem is that they're trying to get ping data back from Venus, based on the presupposition that it's the same size as Earth, of course, and that Earth is a sphere based on R that they assume, of course. So this is riddled, Apollo, absolutely riddled. Even if you got the data back, based on a model that assumes Earth is a sphere.
Okay. Have you...
Not
oh,
really.
sorry.
I was just going to say, no,
I'm
it's
sure
not
you have
okay.
seen.
It's not okay because people like you come along here that a guy from JPL has just told us what the ping data is after it wasn't capable of being interpreted, and you defend it and say, okay, it's not.
Unfortunately, that they don't want to share the data. That would
The
really help.
interpretation of the data that's the issue. Right.
Anyway,
So
let's unless Anthony wants to round out this point, I'm going to ask the last housekeeping question and then move on to Travis because he's been patiently waiting for about 25 minutes.
well, I'm just if that is that the last one?
No.
That's the last one then.
Any evidence of Earth radius, the R value?
No.
Apollo?
What about the experiment with shadows?
With what, sorry?
On sticks. On the
It's not
sun.
an experiment.
Sticks in the ground. I've got something to talk about that.
Well, number
I
one, it's
guess
not an experiment. Number two, it
observation.
assumes R. So we're asking for evidence of R, and you're saying, let's look at the experiment that assumed R.
Well, you can assume a flat plane on a round ball and see which one matches your observations.
That would be a reification fallacy and a false dichotomy fallacy, both in one. So there's 2-in-1 fallacies there.
So how about you assume a flat plane and you predict the shadow orientation and the shadow length of each observation location, and those predictions match your observations in reality. That would be a good point for the flat Earth. If you say we have a flat Earth and we place points of observations at these locations, we make a prediction, and once we make and our observation matches those predictions, that would be a good point for the flat Earth.
No, it wouldn't. No,
No, it
that's
wouldn't.
pseudoscience. A scientific prediction is called a hypothesis. Yeah? A Mystic Meg prediction, you can predict whatever you like and then assess the causes of it and decide what the effects are. Yeah? If you want to science this, which is what the ball claims to be backed by, you've said the word experiment and hypothesis in your nonsense twice. So you are definitely talking about science, aren't you, Apollo?
I'm talking about an observation.
Yeah,
and
with a prediction.
prediction.
Yeah, with a prediction. A scientific prediction is called a hypothesis. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Right, so what's the hypothesis for this scientific prediction? What's the independent and dependent variable?
The dependent variable is something you change, yes? Or
You
is it
tell
the
me
other way
this is your example. You've said this is an experiment. You've said we need to make predictions. And in science, that would be a hypothesis. So you tell me.
But I'm not sure. My English is not my native language, so I'm not sure what an independent variable means and a dependent variable.
Oh, right. Let me tell you. Your independent variable in a hypothesis is your presumed cause of the effect. Now, you presume the cause of this effect is because the Earth is a sphere, correct?
No.
So, when they're sticking sticks in the ground and measuring the distances, you're not trying to demonstrate that the Earth is a sphere?
I was talking about the a flat plane in this case.
Yeah, but that's not what's done. He doesn't assume it's a flat plane, he assumes R in your example. So again, we're talking about something future tense that we could potentially do as opposed to the mainstream rhetoric and what they actually did. He actually assumed R.
But I'm not. I mean, I'm talking about...
You're using the example
flat
of sticks
plane
in the
myself.
ground and shadows, right? Aristophanes, right? That's what you're talking about.
Yes.
Right, we
That-
already have a rhetoric for that. We've already got a little story that goes along with that. It's already been done. It's already written into the history books. We don't need to go and do it again. We already know the rhetoric, like with Bob from JPL and The Distance to the Sun. Yeah? We already know the rhetoric. It's written in stone. So we don't need to do a damn thing. We know the bullshit. And that bullshit comes with an assumption of R. So I'm asking the original question, what's your evidence of R? And we've come to sticks and shadows. And I'm not asking, I'm telling you that comes with an assumption of R in your rhetoric.
I don't know.
No, it does. I'm not asking you. I'm telling you. I didn't ask for an affirmative or negative response. I'm telling you. It comes with an assumption of R, Apollo. This is a fact. You don't have to like it. You can weasel your way around it. But we already know he assumed R with his sticks in the ground.
I'm not talking about his how do you say it? I'm not talking about his experiment, but the principle of the experiment, but applied
It's not an
to
experiment. Are you deaf?
Plane.
Are you deaf?
No, I'm not.
It's not an experiment. It does not have an independent and dependent variable.
Observation. Sorry.
Oh, right. An observation. So not science, then.
Observations can be useful to determine. But that's
Nathan, can I just present something on this Aristophanes thing?
Yeah, I'll just finish off this point. Observations can be used in the scientific method. They're step one if you have a phenomena, Apollo. So they can be useful in science if you follow the rest of the methodology of science. If not, you can observe something and then make a mystic Meg prediction as opposed to a scientific one. Go ahead, Anthony.
An independent variable is something you change.
Yeah, vary and manipulate to try and cause the effect of the dependent variable, your observed phenomena. It is also your presumed cause.
And a dependent variable is
your observed phenomena.
Okay. So in this case, the independent variable would be where you put the stick in the ground, because you can change this at your leisure.
So what you're saying is the cause is a stick. That's your cause, right? Because you can vary the stick. So cause is stick.
The location of the...
Sorry, locations don't cause things. You utter retard. A location's not a cause. Do you understand that? That you've just stated utter nonsense. Locations don't cause things.
Yes, they do.
Oh, really?
Yes, if I have a magnet far away from a piece of metal, sorry, a compass. Let's say the location of a piece of metal is the cause. If I change the location, it will change the needle of the compass.
So alright, so if I do the same thing without the magnet and just change my distance, will the same thing happen?
Yes.
So I don't have a magnet, I just move my distance, the independent variable in your bullshit world where distance causes things. So I'm going to not have a magnet and change my distance. Your independent, one, singular, on its own, cause. So you think by changing distance, I'll get the same effect? Or do we need something else, i.e. a magnet, making it not independent?
So you are moving the magnet, and the location of the magnet is causing the needle to change its direction.
So you're now saying direction is the independent variable. Directions don't cause things.
No, the direction of the needle is the observation.
Oh, so you're saying your observed phenomena in the natural world is a man-made needle on a compass?
Well, I guess you could put a piece of metal onto water and wait for it to move, but it would be quite slow.
So your observed phenomena is a man-made piece of metal in some water that you put there.
Well, of course, I mean, we
Yeah,
use
let me just
our
explain the problem then. Yeah, okay, yes, you've confirmed yes.
Well,
the problem is
eyes to make
the problem is that is not a natural phenomena. If you want to know the cause of why a piece of metal ended up in a piece of water, that would be because you put it there. So observed phenomena cannot be man-made. If you're studying the physical and natural world, man-made items do not count. That's not physical and natural. That's man-made. So when we're looking at your needle, your observed phenomena is not scientific. Your independent variable is not the cause of anything. You don't have causes that are distance. Because if you had that as your independent variable, then distance would be causing all sorts of things, wouldn't it? It's not independent when you vary distance. You've got a magnet involved. So your magnet's the cause, not the distance.
First, distance can be a cause.
Distance doesn't cause... You're dumb. I've just said it 3 times. Distance doesn't cause things.
The distance of an object causes things.
So formulate that into a hypothesis. If distance, then magnet turning. Or compass needle turning. So that means that if I have distance, an independent variable, the effect of distance will always be magnet compass turning. That's utter nonsense. Distance doesn't cause, compasses to turn. That's nonsense.
The distance of a magnetic object.
Distance doesn't cause things. How many times have I got to say this? If your independent variable is distance, you're saying distance causes this effect.
Let's say I have a coil and I move a magnet in and out of the coil. So I increase and decrease the distance between the coil and the magnet.
Oh, right. Where can I find this? Where can I find this coil in the physical and natural world? Where can I find this naturally occurring coil?
Well, a coil of wire would be quite hard to find in the natural world.
Oh, would it be, by any chance, man-made? Seems like you don't listen to what I say, Apollo. Not man-made physical and natural world. That's what science deals with, not man-made stuff. If you want to know the cause of your coil, a man made it. Unless you can show me a physical and natural occurring coil of metal.
But our eyes are man-made, but we use our eyes to make.
What are you babbling about? My eye is not man-made. No man made my eye. That's nonsense. My eye is about as natural as it could be.
Your mother made your eye.
So she sat down with, what, like they extruded metal wire from a machine? No, she didn't sit down and make my eye. That's nonsense.
Your mom made your eye, technically. These cells in your body came from your mother at some point.
Yeah, but
this is nonsense.
Mother didn't make it.
Is that not just a natural phenomenon?
Yeah, my eye's not a phenomena.
Okay.
So, you don't have an experiment. You think that you can create experiments with man-made devices that don't occur in the physical and natural world, and you can vary things like distance, maybe size, maybe mass. These things don't cause things. They're not the cause of anything. If mass doesn't give you an effect, yeah? If distance doesn't give you an effect. Do you understand that?
So, how do you... I guess you can observe something with man-made objects, but they can't be the cause, right?
Yeah, your phenomena cannot be man-made. The phenomena. Yes, you can use man-made equipment to study the phenomena, but the phenomena itself cannot be man-made, otherwise you wouldn't be studying the natural world now, would you?
So, the...
It's very fascinating, Apollo. It's called the scientific method. Go and have a look. Travis, are you ready?
Yeah, sure.
In your own time.
All right, I'm screen sharing.
Yep, you're up.
Okay, so let's. I was gonna pull up Hold on. All right, so here is the distance of where I'm at here. Here I am on the shore, and the land that we're going to see is 21 miles away. Okay, so just watch right here. See right here.
Yeah. Shout out to SX0. Thanks for the super chat.
All right, so here's the top of the land, and the top of the land is continuing to extend out here, but we can't see it except for this little tiny part right here, right? So I don't know how much of this you want to watch, but just watch this. All right, just watch and see what happens to this land. It's going to be about almost a minute, and I think it's worth watching just to see.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that looks crazy.
See how it comes down, it connects right there. And now it's gonna, now watch it in the next minute. If you want to keep watching, let me know. It's gonna disappear. It's gonna go back the way it was.
I'm kind of curious now what would happen if you would slowly move upwards.
Oh, elevation, yeah. If I had a drone or something, sure. That'd be interesting. Right?
But from this perspective right now, because this is really amazing. So Nathan, you decided to have a late show after all?
See, so now we're back to where it was in the beginning.
Magic.
So, but again, right here with this oil rig, I'm just gonna have to go through my footage and cut and splice. You know, you can see it, you know, mirroring on itself here. And I've got the same location. I've got other shots where you can see it absolutely clear as day, and you can see the legs, actually the pylons. So again, that's my point is that it's all there. It's all right there. It doesn't move. The water isn't rising. I talked to one baller, and he said, well, what about the high tide? How high was the tide? I said, are you suggesting that this water is elevating and burying this in actual physical water? Because that's what he was saying. You know, he was saying, well, the water goes up and down with high tide.
That would be some
anyway.
high tide.
I know, right? Right. I've had that from two different ballers. When they make statements like that, you think, do you know how to think?
Like you're not even thinking about what you're saying.
Yeah, do you realize what you're saying? Because I showed, remember that one image I showed where it was just the top part and all you could see was the antenna? He's like, well, then there must be high tide. I'm like, so you're saying that all of that's underwater? That's amazing. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting right there. That's all.
You're in the same school than Ranty, learning how to CGI shit.
The whole sea level thing, you're right. The water moves, it changes length along the beach, right? It goes higher and lower, but things that are out in the water are being hit at the same level from the water. Right? Something like that's the water, unless it's in a bowl, it's not going up and down on that object.
Say a massive thank you to Travis. Well done, Travis. That was awesome.
Hey, Nathan.
That was cool.
Go ahead, Apollo.
Yeah, so I've got a question just quickly before I can leave.
Oh, no, hang on. No, I want to address something with you. Don't leave yet.
Are you or were you in the audio equipment business?
Yes, I
Nathan.
was.
Did you know any people with studio tape recorders?
A few of the studios I dealt with had reel-to-reels, normally very dusty in some old corner somewhere. Why?
Okay, because I have acquired some 7-track NASA tapes, and I am looking for a half-inch 8-track studio tape recorder in order to play those tapes. Do you have any contacts that might be able to supply such a machine?
I don't think so. I mean, all the people who I know that have kept their old Tascam recorders are just purely because they've got old master recordings buried in some back cupboard and they might need to dig them out, but technically they don't have any use for them, but they keep them just in case. But I've certainly seen sort of 8-track Tascams on eBay before. I've never been tempted to buy one. If anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, it's a similar looking thing, not exactly the same as you would see in Pulp Fiction when Mia Wallace plays the music in her apartment on a massive reel-to-reel machine. That's what we're talking about. But I think that was just a 2-track stereo one. But we're talking about a studio grade one with 8 tracks on it, basically. Is that what you're asking for, basically, isn't it? So if anybody knows of anybody that's got an 8-track reel-to-reel, Paula's in the market for one. But certainly I don't know. I don't keep. I've still got them on in my phone, but I don't keep in touch with any of the studios I used to deal with. Sorry.
Ah, okay. Well, thank you. And just to clarify, we are not talking about commercial 8-track players you would find in a car, with very small tape. You're talking about studio equipment.
Yeah.
Okay.
The machine you're talking about is massive, right? It would be about 3 foot tall by about 3 foot wide. Enormous.
Well, yeah, they can be pretty huge, yeah.
Do you know what speed?
A 60s tape memory recorder, right?
Yeah, reel to reel. It's analog, but it's just a reel to reel. It's like a glorified cassette recorder, but with more tracks, basically.
Yeah,
right, guys, let me deal with
Sorry,
Glorified
Anthony.
rather super luggish.
Apollo knows how to get on my good side. Just talk about Hi-Fi for 5 minutes, and he knows how to put me in a good mood. Sorry, Anthony, completely distracted. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've been waiting patiently, Apollo.
Go ahead.
I wanted to get this in ages ago. When you were asked the question about the radius of the Earth, you mentioned something about a bloke, Eratosthenes, sticks in the ground thing. Do you remember?
Yes, well, it was just 5 minutes ago, so my memory isn't that bad. It's
Okay,
very bad.
So when I had the hangout with Sly, can you see my screen?
One moment.
Are you sharing, Nathan?
Yes, I can.
So
Yeah, you're on.
There was a question that I asked in the hangout that I had with Sly the other day. And there was a bloke by the name of Lego something or other. Where is it? There we go. Legolas. Lego Sis. And basically what Lego Sis is saying, in answer to the question when I ask about radius, my conclusion was, if you can't prove R, then your model has an issue. Sorry. And then this Lego Sis says, like 2,000 kids from schools all over the world did in March 2015. And he gives a citation. I want everyone to copy this into their bookmarks and whatever, because it's really, 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 really good. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy that now, and I'll paste it in a sec. But basically, this is a 2,200-year-old inquiry-based hands-on experiment in today's science classrooms. And obviously, it's to do with Eratosthenes. So I'm thinking, whoa, it's got the word experiment in it. It's got the word science in it. And we're going to try and prove R. So when you click into this, you can click on the PDF, and the PDF will open up, which is a lot better to view it than the window that they present within the browser. You can actually open up the actual document itself, which gives me, I think, is it this one? I might have to manually open it. Hang on, I think it's where's it gone? I had it open a minute ago. Oh, where's it gone?
Is this what you went through with me the other night?
Yeah, I'll just do it quick.
This is epic.
This is epic. Right, so this is the actual journal itself. I'll make this as big as I can get it. Oh. I might be better off just...
Yeah, Riley, before you proceed, the commenter's name is Logos, sis, not Lagos, sis.
Who cares? Don't mind mispronouncing it intentionally, recklessly. Who cares? Right, so this is basically the ancient Eratosthenes experiment concerning the Earth's circumference offers plenty of opportunity of an inquiry-based revival in today's science classrooms. It's all sounding dead good. And basically what happens is they're talking about how different things, like the background to Eratosthenes and stuff like that. And then we get into some of the mathematics. And this is all what you're talking about, right? This is the Aristophanes experiment. Now, what we're looking for, from our perspective, isn't all to do with the maths and the trig and the geometry and all this nonsense. We're looking for the weasel words. We're looking for the slippery bits that make it like discredit the whole experiment, the whole thing. So I'm going to focus my attention towards this section called interpretation or discussion, I think it might be, which is towards the bottom. And there we go. Paragraph 4, bottom of page 58. Listen to this, and Apollo, I want you to tell me what you think of this sentence, right? Inquiry-based hands-on experiments in classrooms require simple constructs to satisfy a student's curiosity. The ancient Aristophanes experiment provides an excellent inquiry-based hands-on approach for today's students to conceptualize and solve an abstract problem that even contradicts everyday conceptions. We all know that the Earth is round, although it appears flat. Now, I'm going to ask you if this paper is based on this sentence, which it clearly is because this is the citation for it, Vosniano 94, Vosniadu 94. We all know that the Earth is round. Is that a problem for you, Apollo, in this context? Because if they all know that the Earth's round and they're going to base their maths on it, on this knowledge that it's round, is that not a bit of an issue?
I would say so, yes. If you have an assumption in your observation or experiment, you know, you can just make up any result you want because you assume one of the values.
Correct. So I've put the link inside chat. That was much quicker than I expected. For the flat earthers, just go and have a read of that document and look for the weasel words. If you're a ball earther, come back and tell us how these weasel words are acceptable, because I'm going to claim that they're not acceptable. We don't know that the Earth's a sphere. We're looking for that evidence. So if you're going to beg the question and assume that there's going to be a sphere, then we have a problem. And obviously Neil deGrasse Tyson states that the maths works out both ways. So it's not acceptable to say, well, we all know the Earth's a sphere. No, it's not acceptable.
Shout out to Karen B. Says, shout out to the ballers and the trolls. Your hate only makes me stronger. Thanks, Karen.
I did notice they did
Shout out
post.
Karen B.
You should just replace the word "we all know" with "we all assume."
Yep.
And then it's perfectly correct.
Well, no, because you're still making an assumption. However, I did notice they.
Yeah, but you're being upfront about it, so then it is technically.
But what would be so wrong with assuming the Earth is flat because it looks flat?
Yeah.
Because
why can't we
that sentence right there is so ridiculous. We all know the Earth is round, even though it looks flat. So
you can tell it's real because it looks so fake. That's
exactly. I mean, that's what I hear when I read something like that.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I actually think sometimes that they do this deliberately to troll us. It's like a trigger sentence that'll piss the flat earthers off. I'm sure.
It's not just troll. It is also to confuse the public that is not really on our level.
At which
to realize that there's still other people that just don't touch upon this, that don't believe this. They are having their own thinking processes, and all these things they do that we figure out immediately, they have their psychological effects on how these unconscious people think.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just that phrase itself. We all know the Earth is round. Just saying that, that's just like a whole consensus agreement right there.
Well, it's telling them to assume R. There's an R value in there, and they just say, we know this is correct. Well, no, your R value came from the sun's travelling around what you say is the outer edge of a sphere. So you automatically assume it's a sphere and assume that the sun's path creates the outermost edge, i.e. the equator. So, no, we don't all know the Earth is a sphere. That's a deduction that you have made, that you are now forcing upon these students. So the R value, they're not investigating that, right? They're just taking the R value and using it in the equation, correct? Shout out to Dank. So shout out retracted.
A great thing about the document is that they put the measurements inside the document. So
excellent. Anthony, can you bring them back up again?
Yeah.
So we can actually use those measurements.
We can. We'll just go through a few of them and verify some of them with you. Can you go to the diagram of the sphere that they'll be using, please, Anthony?
It's
diagram
on page
4, I think it is.
Let's see if I can get it in the PDF instead. Because
yeah, no worries.
Here we go.
So you're saying the good thing about a document is we can go and verify the numbers that they used, right, Apollo? Stop. Go back. Go back. Go back. Go back. 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 See this value here? This R.
I was talking about the results at page 6.
Yeah, they're based on this. They're assuming this value here. So, do you want to tell me where they got this from? R.
Sorry.
Because they're not checking it.
I'm not talking about those values. I'm talking about the...
Oh, I am. I'm talking about these values that they're assuming. This R value that they're assuming. There's no checking it, changing it, no measuring it. It's assumed. And I want to know why. Why aren't they checking this value, Apollo?
I guess that does not part of this experiment.
Well, no, what they say in it, Apollo, is we know the Earth is a sphere, so assume R. So they're just saying, not we'll check R. They're saying we already know. That's what they tell us.
Yes, not.
So I'm asking, how do we check this? As opposed to just take what the paper says, which you would do. They're just saying, accept R. That's in essence what they're saying. Here it is, don't check it, we already know. Well, you don't. You got this from looking at a curved light, a curved shadow on a light in the sky. That's where this came from, assuming the Earth is a sphere. So we don't know, it was based originally on an assumption.
Yes.
Right. Well, so we can't go back into the paper and double check the figures because they've got an assumed value of R. So it's all based on that assumption.
Different figures than you are, though. So
what's bigger than me? Sorry.
I mispronounced. I was talking about the other figures. I was talking about the measurements that they took of the shadows and the shadow angles.
Yeah, they'll change those. They'll be changed based on R. Did you not know that? Did you not know that they'll change those values based on R? Did you not know that, Apollo? They're not going to go with the measurements they actually take. Do you want to scroll down a bit more, Anthony?
I just want to point this bit out. It says, nevertheless, his writings have been lost anyway. In other words, there's no evidence that this even happened. But anyway.
No, Riley. Even before that, hold on. Scroll up a little bit. It says, although Eratosthenes' original experiment contained a number of serious errors, inaccuracies, and guesses, he came close to the correct or current answer. I mean,
it's like an embedded confession, isn't it?
It literally just said, like, he just assumed and corrected. He just assumed wrongly, but we're just going to go with it anyway.
Guys, it doesn't matter. He was on the right track because he assumed it was a sphere, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, as long as
it doesn't say calculations. It says
this is pathetic.
The question you've got to ask is: would the ballers allow me or Ranty to contain a number of serious errors, inaccuracies, and guesses when we do anything? Right? Would they allow that?
Of course not.
Of course not.
Maybe we could just readdress.
I'm just going
to as the guy that first assumed he was on a sphere when he tried to prove they were on a sphere.
Well, Aristarchus.
He's
dead.
Yeah, Aristarchus. No, Aristophanes.
No, Aristarchus was the first. He was the one that observed the curved shadow on the moon and said, well, it's obviously the Earth as a sphere getting between us and the sun. That's what's causing it.
Really?
Right, don't say the word Aristarchus. You'll get Pete Shea.
I didn't know that. That's hilarious.
Let's not say Aristarchus.
Look,
Pete Shea will be having kittens.
Shout out to the Dodo and Aristarchus. Boom.
The last sentence says the experiment ideally suits science education because of its simplicity, accuracy, and its mathematical combination potential. Students can conceptualize space through measurement. But yet, the entire paragraph before that is telling you how wrong this is.
Doublespeak of the highest order.
Holy shit. This is so sad.
Pick and choose. This is
a joke.
But that's what people do with religions. They pick the things that work out and the rest they ignore.
Right.
Oh my God.
Yeah, absolutely correct, Darwin. Selective.
This is what actually convinced me. I was convinced in terms of the argument against Coriolis, but when I started to look into this and investigate it, I went to Eratosthenes the very first time I started to research, and the first 5 articles that I pulled up, and it was just whatever showed up in my Google search, they all revealed that he assumed two things. He assumed that the Earth was a sphere, and then he assumed that the light came in parallel. As soon as I read that, I was done. I was absolutely finished. I'm like, this is complete BS on assumptions.
Yeah.
I didn't even look any further, really.
This is crap.
So,
I don't believe in 2018 that this is what these guys are using as proof.
Apollo, are you still there?
He might have nipped away from his camera. He's not in front of his camera, so he might not be.
All you have to do is just Google search, you know, proof of Earth's radius, and it's just Aristophanes. That's it. Seriously.
Because what I want to know, the minute he comes back, just get his attention, because I'm watching the football, you see. So Liverpool are playing United.
Aristophanes is just the first scientist to basically beg the question and get away with it.
Yeah, it does seem to be the way.
About 5 minutes if you want to make a conclusion, and then we're going to round out.
I just want to say this has been a very educational episode of the show. Thank you, guys.
I'm gonna make the assertion based on Apollo not coming back that basically I was going to ask him, does he accept that Jesus Christ, the figure known as Jesus Christ, walked the earth, regardless of whether or not he did miracles and all that? Does he accept that that person existed? Because Aristophanes lived 250 years prior to Christ. He lived 250 years BC, roughly. My point is that there is shed loads of evidence that a bloke did walk the earth called Christ, right? Whether or not he turned loaves of bread and fishes and all that, who cares? But there is evidence, lots of evidence, that this bloke by the name of Christ did roam the earth at some point around the time period that we're told. But when you try and find out whether or not Aristophanes exists, they admit that they don't know what he looks like. They admit that that basically there's no evidence that this guy exists. And in that paper, there's no evidence that his original experiment existed. And you have to ask the question: did the guy even exist?
Well, you know, there's a temple in India, right, where he supposedly went and lived out his life.
This is where we need Bible expositor, or Paula, formerly known as Knowledge Scavenger, but she's not in the chat.
There's probably 2 Jesuses, I think, in that sense.
Hello.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, my bad, Travis. I'm really sorry. I forgot Travis was here. Sorry, Travis.
I mean, what's your question?
Well, Anthony is basically postulating that there's more evidence for Jesus than there is for Aristophanes.
Well, he said lots, but I don't know if I...
No, there's thousands of citations of Christ. Thousands. He's all over the place in the Mediterranean area.
Let's hear from Travis.
And different cultures.
Hold on. Let's just hear from Travis.
No. I mean, I guess I just wanted to have a more specific question, but I understand what Anthony's saying. Basically, if Anthony, this is what you're saying, we have minuscule evidence for Eratosthenes, whereas we have more written evidence for Christ, right? Is that that's your point?
Yeah, there is ample evidence, empirical evidence, of a bloke by the name of Christ roaming the Mediterranean area at the time when we were told that he did. Now, I'm not saying the religious thing. I'm not saying that he was changing loaves of bread and fishes into wine and all that. I'm not saying. What I'm saying is that there is enough evidence that makes me think that there actually was a bloke by that name roaming the streets at that point.
Just make one minor correction. Jesus didn't turn fishes into wine.
Well, whatever. You know what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I wasn't going to be that pedantic.
Yeah, you know what I mean. I can't even remember the story. But my point is that you can't prove that Aristophanes even existed. Now, this for me is the nucleus of their argument, because I mean, how do you prove that Aristophanes existed if you're going to make a story up about him? How do we know it's true?
Just Google it.
Yeah, Google. It's ridiculous.
And with that, I'm going to say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you, the live audience, for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. Over on Nathan Oakley channel in about half an hour's time, there will be the rerun of the first debate together with the pre-show. So tune in to Nathan Oakley if you've not subscribed already. There's a link in the info box below this video. Once again, I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
You understand the question?
Yeah. The obvious answer to us is because it's fake, 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 fake.
Yeah, that would be my first go-to.
Well, is the question, why aren't the lights that we see on Earth?
Basically, yeah. Why when looking at the lights from the ISS, why are they not twinkling the way they tell us? The reason the twinkling happens is because we're looking at them through the atmosphere. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay.
So, but yeah, I would go with. I mean, I don't trust what's coming from the ISS.
I don't think anybody does. I think you've got to be a moron to believe that there's the International Space Station up there with astronauts in it and Scott Daddy and all.
In all honesty, now that I've seen stars doing what they do, like, you know, telescopically, I mean, I don't think it's the atmosphere. I think it's just stars, whatever they are. They're just doing whatever they're doing.
Oscillating.
That's what the twinkling
Right, they're
is.
just yeah, I wouldn't call it twinkling. They look like they're oscillating, like they're
I mean, they call it twinkling, but yeah.
Vibration. Twinkling, like twinkle toes.
Yeah, one thing it looks like Travis is a Venus. He just did a Venus observation the other day, and I mean, it looks crazy when it's zoomed up. When it's zoomed in,
it doesn't really look like a tangible object, does it?
No, not at all. If it was, it would be insane. You know, I don't think that's the atmosphere doing that. I think it's just whatever that is doing that.
Yeah, it seems like that's what they do by in and of itself. They just, I just think to me it looks like they're oscillating, some sort of wave, magnetic form. They're just vibrating or something. At least that's the impression.
I mean, some of them look insane. You know, like,
and yet people still think they actually see balls when they look through the telescopes. I don't get it. All you see is a vibrating light. Oh, it's a ball. Okay, sure.
Yeah, so shout out to Jose Meza. Wanted to get that in for you, brother. Did he round out the show? Is he
I
running
guess
the show right now?
I did round out the show, and I've completely forgotten to publish the pre-show. I'm just a bit under the weather, and I'm not really on top of things, so I'm doing it now quickly.
All right, guys, I got to get out of here and edit my Crow 777 stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to go watch the second half of the Liverpool match. So have a good evening, guys. I'll catch you all next time.
Salute.
Thanks for your time, guys.
You're buggering off already.
Thanks, man.
Oh, and by the way, Fish, you were great today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you were.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thank you. Glad I could add.
We're already subbed to you, brother.
Perfect. Take it easy, guys.
See you later.
Yes, sir.
That's not going to be much of
cool hangout.
much of an after show, is there?
Is there after show?
Well, I normally record for as long as people stay, but if you're all buggering off, then that'll be the end of the after show pretty quickly.
Hey, Chocolate.
Half the panel just left. Huh?
You staying, Chocolate?
Sure. I mean, if everybody else leaves, I'll leave. I'm not staying here by
They'll be
myself.
back.
You know.
They'll be back.
There's no obligation, by the way. You don't have to stay. It doesn't matter
no,
if you do want to go.
It's cool.
You can.
I miss
There's no obligation.
Hey, welcome back.
Apollo's still hanging in there.
Hey, Nathan, just post in Skype that the after show is still running, so maybe people come back.
Yeah. I don't want to force anybody. If they want to stay, they will.
Maybe you should have another live show, Nathan, if you feel like it.
I wasn't going to have the second one. I was going to only have one.
Oh, you were only going to have one?
Yeah, I was going to start at 3 and then only have one, but I changed my mind. But I feel like crap. I was going to cancel the show completely. I just didn't feel up to it.
I hear you.
Point them in the direction of the pre-show in the chat.
Let's see. What were we talking about again in the early bird show before I rounded
Lloydal
up?
Silver.
Chocolate.
Say that again.
What were we talking about before I rounded out the Flat Earth early bird show today?
I think the subject was pretty much like antibiotics versus like.
Oh yeah, colloidal silver, and more.
Yeah.
Weird. The elapsed time on the Hangout is still going. Weird.
Huh?
No, it says.
Definitely ended, right?
Yeah.
Still showing an elapsed time. 59, 54, 55, 56, 57.
It just says streamed live
weird.
59 minutes ago.
If I refresh it.
That's weird.
Yeah. Well, the show is starting over again for me, so I can now watch
Oh, so it has ended and it'll let you start from the beginning. Okay, that's fine. I don't know what's going on this. Weird. Very weird. Go to live dashboard and see what's doing there. Oh, I see. I think it's probably just because I changed account to upload the pre-show. Yeah, it's definitely ended. Good, good.
I should have screenshotted that paragraph that Riley had up.
Oh, from yesterday's show?
No, the one where he was just reading. Like, just so I could read it over again, because it's like, as soon as you start reading it, it's like, it's literally debunking the entire experiment right there, but just saying, here, just go with this and teach the kids this, and they'll understand it, and that's okay.
Oh, the bit where we obviously know the Earth is round.
Yeah.
Yeah, outrageous, isn't it?
And then saying, basically, this guy's it was wrong. He assumed incorrectly and all that, but we'll just go with it anyway. Because that's pretty much what I read when I read it.
Yeah, just assume everything could be hunky-dory. Right, I'm gonna round out the after show as well. I'm feeling rough anyway, so sod it. With that, I'm going to say, first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of my second channel audience. So if you tuned into Nathan Oakley and you're watching this and are unaware that it's my second channel, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with all the pre-show and after-show goodness. Also, a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this very short after-show possible. Once again, I've been Nathan Oakley, and in about, I don't know, an hour, maybe 2 hours time, the next live debate will start over on Nathan Oakley's channel. Nathan Oakley 1980 channel, I have to get this right. So once again, I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!